Guns on off.
Careful, around time there. Let's just get you in a more safer position. Do you want to just come where I am at present, just off the pitch head? When you fall, you're falling into the water.
On one side of this small ledge lies a 6-story drop into thin air.
Hang on, don't stand. It's all tied off. Just sit down. All right.
First 300 metres following Rob's line, it's a straightforward swim. Obviously it's deep, but with the skills that we've gained through years of practice and training, following that line is relatively simple. The real job starts when we start laying our own line, which is a very slow, deliberate process, especially at the depths of this sump, because we're going to be exposed to narcosis, impairing our mental function. So we're going to have to move very, very slowly to compensate for this, to be able to explore the sump accurately.
Nitrogen narcosis, the narcotic effect of breathing air at depth underwater. The divers know their brains will be working more sluggishly than normal. They call it the cotton wool effect. Phil and Gavin follow the line laid by Rob Parker. This trail laid by another diver helps them to conserve energy and air. They only have a limited supply of both. When they've used up 1/3 of the air in their tanks, they'll turn back. This leaves them 1/3 for the return journey and 1/3 in case of emergency. There may be some maintenance work to carry out on the line. It may have been snagged or buried. There are huge forces at work here as the water finds its way down through 2,500 meters of rock. This fragile line is all the divers have to guide them back to safety. They near the end of the line laid by Rob Parker. Phil makes sure that this really is the limit of the first exploration. And then he sets about attaching a new line. From now on, they will be exploring places where no one has ever been before. Where will the shaft first seen by Rob Parker lead? Back at the top of the dam, with no contact, the others can only wait. If Phil and Gavin surface and explore new passages, they'll be away for several hours.
Well, at present I can see a lot of bubbles and a nice green glow. But I'm not entirely sure whether I'm looking at one or two. Ah, okay, yeah, we've got two. They're both coming back. They've been away 40 minutes, which I think means that they haven't surfaced. In fact, I'm certain it means they haven't surfaced. And we're just going to wait.
Another weight. The divers must complete their decompression 5 meters down.
Now we'll find out. Secret messages coming up. Oh. And the story is, can't see much else, can do hell on air.
One of them, I don't know if it was Gavin or Phil, had written something on one of the diving slates. So of course we pulled this in, expecting to get a message of what had actually happened.
Of in can.
And it was completely garbled. We didn't know what was going on.
Something can. Where's the shaft?
And we couldn't actually read what they'd written.
Do here on air. H-E double, well, I'm not sure. Do here. Are you alright, Colin?
What we later found out is it was actually a message that Gavin had written to Phil at the end of the sump. And because they had nitrogen narcosis, they couldn't actually write properly, so we were just trying to read this garbled message. But on the back they had actually written 28 minutes.
And the 28 minutes means they've got 28 minutes before the surface. So we can go down and have a brew cup. Okay, don't keep us in suspense. Tell us what you found.
Okay, it doesn't ascend as was originally thought. You reach Rob's final belay at 66 metres, thereabouts, and the ascent that he can see is a blind rift. It goes up no more than about 5 metres.
It has an atmosphere.
It's not a friendly sump at all.
It's not. I think it goes with its name. It's
The road to certain death.
it definitely has an atmosphere all the way. You know you're in some place here, you know.
Sure. No. Well, we need to get you out of there, don't we?
Yes, please, because we're very cold.
Right, I'll show you where. Okay,
A blind rift. The shaft Rob Parker thought might lead to the surface goes nowhere. A dead-end chapter, but the story's not over. Later, the team review the pictures.
It's very easy to get to a situation like this and just dash off into the unknown.
This is where we followed the dive description and went straight for a possible surface. Looked up into the space above Rob's belay and found that it was actually a blind avon. And you can just see now coming round to the left, there's a slot there. It goes on into the continuation of the passage and gradually starts to actually dip deeper.
Uncharted waters, and now at a dangerous depth. Phil and Gavin had chosen to dive with air rather than mixed gases because they didn't think they'd be going deeper than 70 meters. But now they found themselves heading towards that limit.
We've been forced down again, and we're now down at 68 metres. This is Phil tying off the final belay. Again, quite a difficult thing to do, to actually consciously tie a good knot at that depth when you're suffering from a lot of nitrogen narcosis. Trying to keep a good steady breathing rate, trying to do everything nice and calmly, nice and slowly. If you do any sort of physical exertion at this sort of depth, the nitrogen narcosis gets much, much worse. This battery pack that you see here on Phil has actually already imploded because of the pressure. This thing imploded at about 55 metres, went bang and filled it with water.
Certainly gives you a jump when your brain's concentrating on everything you're doing. All of a sudden there's this dull thump next to you. You start checking everything to make sure nothing vital is broken.
Fortunately, because it's fresh water, the batteries still continue to run even though they're actually full of water. This is Phil just getting out the scissors here just to cut the line off from the line reel. Cuts the line free.
This was further than anyone had ever been before on the road to certain death. But their air was now poisoning them. It was time to turn back. A new day. A fresh chance to tackle the riddle of the mountain and its passageways.
So my feelings at the moment is that we should concentrate on our secondary plan of diving the road to Wigan Pier sump, which is the mainstream sump, and try and essentially bypass certain death sump and see if we can find the other end of it. Nobody's ever been in the sump, so we have no idea whether it's going to be long, short, whatever. The thing might be 2 or 3 metres long. Until we actually go and have a look, we don't know. So what I'm proposing to do today is to send you guys to Wigan Pier, because it's a very spectacular piece of cave, and I know Colin's the only person who's been there so far. Climb the waterfall at the end of it, which is not going to be a difficult climb, but it needs doing. So we know Colin's already fallen off it once and left half of his finger in the climb, so it really needs to be bolted rather than any heroic or free climbing done on it. Go to the top, have a look at the sump, see what we've got up there. Anybody have any suggestions, questions, anything like that on that lot?
I was just wondering, seeing as we're going up there and we're climbing and looking at the sump, would you like us to do you a favour and dive the rascal as well?
Yeah, would you like to go to certain depth and get the gear, and I should go to Wigan Pier and climb the waterfall then? Oh, it's all very quiet.
Well, okay, well, fair enough. I am prepared to swallow hard for the sake of your ego, and I will carry all your bottles and weights and kit up too. Okay.
Good.
Colin makes the road to Wigan Pier as safe as possible. All the diving gear and other equipment will have to be manhandled through here.
It was quite an immense place to be. There was a lot of noise, a lot of water, but what was the most mind-blowing thing was how slippery the rocks were. Wherever you put your foot, there was a good chance it was going to just disappear from under you just because there was a fine sheen of grease or something on them. So that made it interesting to be in that environment.
The dangers soon become all too clear. Marcus Taylor, cave guide and camera assistant with the television crew, is working on the waterfall when a bolt fails. 2 kilometers inside the mountain, he falls and breaks his leg.
I was the only person with him at the time, and we immediately recognised that this was quite a serious incident. And I sort of clipped him onto me and started edging my way down. It was just that his leg just below the kneecap that was damaged, and there didn't seem to be any other problems. But most of the time he was literally crawling on the floor and keeping his damaged leg sort of trailing behind him. And we did that for about 45 minutes before we rendezvoused with Phil, Gavin and Mark. As soon as they saw the nature of the accident and Marcus's state, it was all hands to the deck to try and get poor Marcus out as quick as possible. He was in a lot of pain, and it was worrying for us in particular in that we could see him going downhill. Initially he was talking quite coherently and really being part of the group trying to get him out. And as we got closer to the entrance, and having spent 3 or 4 hours when the incident occurred, he was clearly getting weaker and he was in considerable pain, quite often literally screaming out when we were dragging him along or when he was dragging himself along. When we were about an hour from the entrance, we met up with Mark, who'd just been out and brought in some dry clothes and some hot drinks for him, so he was sort of recuperated a bit with that. I then ran out of the cave and ran up to Treviso